Good evening and welcome back to the only show where reality has a restraining order against the headlines. Grab a drink, lower your expectations for humanity, please. And let's get into today's circus, because I can tell you there's just amazing amount of just like people like either losing their minds or just totally freaking out about what's happening because they see President Trump, let's just say, regarding one of the cases that we'll talk about tonight. Tonight's SCOTUS drops the hammer, winners and losers, and the media meltdown. More chaos out of order. Yeah, I mean, President Trump, his Article 2 powers are going to be reinforced. He's going to gain a wider swath of, let's just say, viability. And he's going to be able to go after these, what do they call them? Administrative state class. Some people call it the deep state, the SEL class, whatever. He's going to be able to go after these people once and for all. And you know what? He could deconstruct these agencies. He can fire the heads of this. And we'll break that all down tonight. Welcome in, everybody. How you doing out there? What's going on over there on YouTube? Hello, Linda Perino. True Terran, what's over there on Rumble? Hello, everybody. What's going on pill.net? Some interesting stuff that I see people dropping and stuff. Yeah, Marshall's not here tonight. He's not going to be doing the show much because his dog is sick or not well. He's got a growth in his mouth, so he's not going to be able to take time to do his shows. He might pop in here and there. So that's basically it. He let me know yesterday, and so that's how things are. So, pray for his dog that it's going to be okay. I mean, it's sad. I mean, the dog's older, but still, I mean, I guess he's going to have to spend a lot of time taking care of that dog. So, yep. Welcome in, everybody. Hello, Darla L. Who's here? Trusty Turnip, what's up? What else is going on? Trump won. How you doing? Would USA? How you doing? Thank you for the 219 gold pills. Yeah, let's effing go. Yeah, good to see everybody out there. So, yeah, we're going to just go right into it tonight. I just want to cover a couple of things because you had a couple of cases. You had Trump v. Cook, Trump v. Slaughter. You had the RNC versus Watson. Some of the cases, some people think didn't work out properly for President Trump. Or what we see, especially with the mail-in ballots, that's the RNC versus Watson because they ruled, I think it was a 5-4 decision that the postmarked by election day, where the count afterwards, if the election day is an election day, then what is it then? I mean, obviously, they ruled that states can challenge the counting of late mail-in ballots submitted up to 2 weeks. So 5 days after election day, some states are allowed to count it postmarked. So that's not good. That's not good in general. And we know the numbers. We know that they'll steal it. So hopefully tomorrow with what's going to, I think they're going to break down what we're seeing with the birthright citizenship. I mean, we saw, Thomas, he was in the halls of Congress today, meeting with somebody, maybe the speaker, maybe letting people know that this is going to happen. Who knows? I mean, I have a feeling I'm like 60-40 now. I think early on today when everything dropped, I wasn't really sure about how I felt. But I think the birthright citizenship, I think it's going to go in our favor. I think we're going to finally interpret it the way it should be and not utilize this to the Democrats' favor where anybody can just squat, pop a kid out and say, hey, this is my home now. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. All right. I mean, obviously, we're going to cover a couple of things. Listen to what CNN is saying. Let's get into this. Let me lower this right now. Okay, let's cover this right now. This comes from Red Wave Press. I mean, you even have the news right now. Actually, right now, yeah, prayers for Marshall and his dog. Yeah, he's he might do shows. He said that he wants to do shows with when I start covering probably this month or next month the gubernatorial race. We know Jay Collins right now. I don't know if you guys care. Some of you are in Florida. They're suing Jay Collins, lieutenant governor, is suing DeSantis and Fishback because. At least him and Byron Donalds agree Fishback's not the guy. He's a plant. There's a lot of stuff that's going on about that. I don't know. I mean, when I sit back and I look about what a mess the gubernatorial race is, it's just really, this is the best we can do. It's sad in some way. So, all right, let's get into this. So Red Wave Press puts this out. This is pretty good. Breaking Trump on True Social. Historic slaughter decision by the Supreme Court is the greatest increase in presidential power. I mean, they were going to fire this woman, Slaughter, who basically President Trump's firing of the FTC commissioner, Rebecca Slaughter, and other Democrat commissioners, that's the point, without statutory clause is now lawful. Before, President Trump couldn't do it. His hands were tied. Now he could basically deconstruct, dismantle, dissect these agencies. He could fire the independent regulators, and for any reason, for any cause. There doesn't have to be a cause in this way. The president must have, and or whatever. Let's just put it this way. And or whatever, or however you want it, without restrictions and at-will removal power over principal officers who exercise executive power to ensure accountability. Faithfully execution of these laws. True power over the administrative state. I think that's where it is. Let's listen to CNN. I think they're saying right now that this is the most powerful president that we've had in over 100 years. Because I guess in 91 years, it was established. So think about in 91 years of all the presidents that were neutered by the administrative state and all these years that they were creating these agencies. Like, for example, the NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board. Yeah, that's gone. How about the CPSC, which is basically the Consumer Product Safety Board or Commission? That's gone. How about the MSPB? Listen to this one. The Merit, let's just see, Safety Public Board or something like that. It's some ridiculous thing. I mean, and then you got the SEC, the FCC, and stuff. I mean, these things in some way. The MSPB is just a board set up, so there are rules in place that you don't fire and hire people without certain, let's just say, limits or expectations of merit. But I find that such a, when I look at it right now and I break that down, I think it's so hypocritical and opportunistic that these boards were set in place to block the executive branch from actually utilizing its power in some way to remove. And you have a lot of Democrats in these actual positions as they are in the administrative state. You call it the deep state, the SLE class, whatever. It doesn't even matter anymore. That the point is that when CNN recognizes it, he's going to go hog wall. So the idea of the executive order and the fact is that President Trump can move forward with Pulte now, as Pulte said that the Trump v. Cook case, which is the Fed, this, I guess, the Fed chairperson or whatever this was. She works in the Federal Reserve. There's going to be a lawsuit against her, an indictment possibly for mortgage fraud, and he couldn't fire her. And the Supreme Court says, well, this is an independent body, and you can't do anything about this in some way. So they're going to find a backdoor to do this. President Trump addressed that. Let's listen to CNN.
Is winning the war to expand executive power. And so that was significant today to really get a sense of where the justices are on this claim that you could pretty much have unlimited power, right? The unitary executive theory that would argue that he could fire whoever he wants. We got a little insight into where they are on some of these bigger questions today. So again, a mixed bag, but so far on social media, he seems happy.
So you mentioned in terms of his ability to fire people, right? That was a big win for the president.
Exactly.
Really expanding his presidential powers, you noted.
Yeah, and it's confusing because it was a pair of cases. They were both handed to our colleague John Fritzy together at the Supreme Court. But what they say at a high level is that, yes, he does have broad authority to fire many federal officials throughout the government. But when it comes to, for example, the Federal Reserve, he can fire them, but he has to give them the appropriate kind of process, the opportunity to respond. As the Chief Justice said, and you wrote the opinion, he said it doesn't have to be a sit down with the president, right, or a full trial, but you do have to provide them some process. Now, all that sounds sort of legalistic and procedural, but what they're really saying is something that I think will go down as one of the defining cases of the Roberts Court, which is that the president can do most of what he has wanted to do in terms of firing officials to reshape the federal government. They're drawing a circle around the Federal Reserve and saying you just need process there. The Federal Reserve, of course, is significant because of its potential economic impact. But when it comes to all these other
cited
folks,
in the decision.
Yes, exactly. When it comes to all these other folks, you're good. So what we're watching for now is, all right, what are you going to do now that you have that answer? But overall, that's...
So they addressed the Trump v. Cook thing is that there has to be a just cause for her firing. They have to put this down. I think an indictment's coming for the mortgage fraud. So once that happens, then there'll be just cause to remove her. I guess in how many years? There's never been a president that's removed the Fed chair, and look how well that's gotten to us. I mean, it's gotten, over 100 years. Here we go. So looking at this in some way, President Trump's powers are more expanded with these runaway administrative state agencies. This is going to work in the favor of Doge in a lot of ways. Consider all these other things that are incoming. So you have to put that on blast. Linda Prino, they all need to go. They try to block everything Trump does. Yeah, absolutely. What's up, MG615? What's up, Nancy Ann? Yeah, my fraud definitely caused. Yep. Look, when you really, Daily Signal puts out a good article about the Humphreys thing. This is Hubert Humphreys. I guess this is how this whole case got into this. This was an executive precedent that was set in Hubert Humphrey's time, the president of the United States. And basically what it was is that it blocked any type of such ruling that a president can remove all these people without just cause. It says in the 6-3 strike down, the 90-year-old precedent Humphrey's executor that insulated deep state actors when even precedents sought to fire them. Well, so there it is. In nearly 250 years, the framers decided to what? Vest the executive power in one person, only the president of the United States of America. Chief Justice Roberts wrote in the majority opinion, the choice was not made lightly. Roberts noted that several delegates to the Constitutional Convention pushed a multi-member council instead of unity in the executive magistrate, which they feared would serve as what the FOTUS of monarchy. But unity won out. Our Constitution drafters knew from experience that plurality in the executive, the model in use by most states at the time, not only diminishes activity of secrecy and dispatches necessary to ensure good government, but tends to conceal faults and destroys responsibility. Robert delivered the opinion of the court, which Justice Alito, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and the traitor Amy Coney Barrett joined in full. Justice Clarence Thomas joined every part of the opinion except one, while Justice Sonia Sotomayor filed a dissent, joined by the Justices Kagan and Brown Jackson. In the Trump v. Slaughter, the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 the President of the United States can fire executive branch officials. This undermines the deep state. There it is. I'll scroll down a little bit more. The big news here is Trump scored massive Supreme Court victory over this. The court ruled in the Slaughter case confirming President Trump's authority under Article 2 to remove the executive branch officers. Here's the dissent. Sotomayor, an appointee of President Obama, noted that in her dissent that Congress and the president together have decided that some government functions should operate at a distance from partisan politics. She echoed that spirit of progressive movement, stating that the wisdom of the centuries have taught that some decisions should depend not only in office, much less who's in disfavored or owed a favor by those in office, but also on judgment, expertise, and public good. Sotomayor accused the court of discarding a democratic regime in favor of one that distorts the structure of government to fit the majority's theory of unitary total executive control. I don't have to break this down anymore. I think you get the gist of understanding. Let's play this a little bit. This is pretty good.
Is it authoritarian to reform the administrative state? Many on the left have demonized the idea of reforming the fourth branch of government by making bureaucrats easier to fire. Yet this reform does not come out of a vacuum. Even while notorious liberal President Franklin Delano Roosevelt opposed the very idea of public sector unions, they have proliferated in the federal government, making bureaucrats almost impossible to fire. Partly for this reason, President Donald Trump faced attempts to undermine his agenda from within the very ranks of the executive branch he led from 2017 to 2021. Rooting out this deep state is good for democracy because it enables the people's elected representative to fulfill his campaign promises. Reforming the administrative state would be a step toward following the Constitution, just like originalism is a step toward following the Constitution on the Supreme Court. The Constitution's checks and balances are the farthest thing from authoritarian.
It was pretty good. Pretty good the way it breaks down. It basically reinforces Article 2. It shows that the actual inner workings of the Constitution of the United States, and that was created in some way to what? Make sure that you can bifurcate all this. And the founding fathers realized that that power must rest in the executive branch. The fact that the President of the United States, the chief law enforcer, think about that, cannot fire somebody, okay, in these agencies, in these heads that are Senate confirmed appointed. You understand? They're appointed. They're confirmed by the Senate, and there you are. Or deconstruct these agencies because they're bloated bureaucratic waste. Okay? So this is going to go well into Doge. This is going to work well with the Doge deconstruction effort while we systematically just go one by one by one by one. And once you remove the rock, okay, there'll be no blockades, as Linda Perino was pointing out. They no longer can block him at every turn. They'll have a clear path, and I think that will start immediately, and you'll start to see probably people after July 4th just get on the chopping block. And that, look, that's a good thing. We've all wanted this. I mean, he's been stonewalled from the first administration, and here we are right now. That's why nothing gets done. It's this bureaucratic administrative state is the one that really is the one that has been in charge for the last 100 years. Think about that. They really have. And it's growing just so immensely that the president of the United States has less opportunity that is afforded to him and his administration to continue on moving the needle of his agenda. And here we are right now. That's no longer going to be viable, where the deconstruction of our government agencies are going to happen. These agencies wielding executive power must be subject to presidential supervision, guidance, and management. That's it. That's as simple as that comes. Basically, there's a boss, all right? These people had, they basically had the run of the litter, so to speak. They were able to just go around and do whatever they want, get their talking points, obstruct, abscond, do whatever they can. They were put in this way, all right, to create a separate agenda. That agenda was not from any incoming administration, especially this administration, and to block it, to thwart it, to subvert it. That's it, and it no longer will be viable going forward. I'll get to your comments really quickly. Let's continue on. So much good news. I think, I have a positive spin on this. Now, I understand, look, the Cook case, the Trump v. Cook with the Federal Reserve broad. I mean, you have Pulte coming out. There's going to be an indictment on her, and all they have to do is, once there's an indictment on mortgage fraud, they're going to pull the plug on her. So it really doesn't matter, but it just shows you an eye-opening that there is a separation, that the President of the United States, since they claim it's independent, and this Federal Reserve Board, okay, which is not federal, it doesn't, all right, you can't create it, call it a fourth branch, okay? And that the whole thing is that since that affects the economic policy out there in some way, why is it that President Trump is not allowed to step in this? And I think Walsh is going to come in and clean this up. It's going to take some time, but it will. But once you remove her, this sets another precedent, okay? Well, you know what? The president doesn't have to fire you. We just have to set a precedent that if anything that you're doing, okay, is illegal, criminal, we can make sure that the president can put forth that we're going to remove you based upon this. Here's the supposition. Here's the argument. Here's the case log from the Justice Department. And that's how they have to do it. I mean, if that's the only way, you have to slowly deconstruct the Federal Reserve by going after each one of these people for their criminal acts. I mean, they're not above the law. To think that they are, that's why a lot of people saying, well, here it is. And the Trump v. Cook Supreme Court rules that the Federal Reserve trumps executive branch in a 5-4 ruling led by Chief Justice Roberts. The president doesn't have the right to fire a Fed governor for cause or apparent mortgage fraud. That's what it says. The conservative SCOTUS strikes. As Thomas writes in his dissent, the court makes many policy arguments for independent banking agency that exercises executive power free from accountability. Basically, what he's saying is that so they can do whatever they want because there's no accountability, no one to hold them accountable. But those are ultimately arguments against the Constitution. Yeah, there has to be some type of, and who is the chief law enforcement? President Trump or any president that sits in the office. It's really not about the man. It's about the office per se. And the person who occupies that must execute the laws faithfully, honestly, as we're seeing right here. And that's what they tried to do. And although the court expresses concern that the president removed a board member for the first time in Federal Reserve's 111 year, it expresses no such concern that today upholds an injunction against President Trump's removal of the executive officer for the first time in the Constitution's 237-year history. So the big win at the moment, the executive branch represent in this decision. You can see what he's saying. Look, there's going to be pushback. All right. So the injunction, so the Supreme Court sided with her. But look, she's going to be charged with mortgage fraud. You can't abscond because you're a federal governor. I mean, you're Federal Reserve governor. So you're basically saying you could commit crimes, murder. Yeah, that's what. So you're saying that you have more immunity than certain senators and Congress people to get away with shit? Come on, stop with that. And that, that's what I think Thomas was suggesting. He said, you don't have any immunity. In fact, it's a blight on the Federal Reserve that you sit there and you control the policy economically for many different things, for mortgages, for interest rates, for home ownership, for loans, whatever. Okay, and then what do? You play games yourself with mortgage fraud, and that's okay based upon wheeling and dealing of the inside baseball that you have. That's not right. It's kind of like insider trading. It's what we call out Congress and the Senate for double dealing left and right. Yeah, that's what it is. All right, moving on. Here it is. President Trump puts this up. A lot of good stuff. A lot of good commentary on X. When I look at X, it's gotten a lot better with a lot of different, let's just say, notes and a lot of people picking up a lot of different chatter. Julie Donuts puts out President Trump post, unstoppable by law and order, national security emergency conditions. This is huge. He puts this out to show the importance of the Slaughter case. 90 years of precedent has been completely and unequivocally overruled, greatly increasing the presidential power at the time when it's most needed. Yep, I think so. And here it is. Big win just moments ago, confirming the presidential power in our country move executive branch officers and agency appointees or representatives under Article 2. It says here, this is unprecedented ruling. It is such an honor to be sitting president who has won this historic unprecedented ruling. 100 years. You got to think about this. This is really spectacular. That's why not all is lost. And so when you think about it, President Trump maintains his power, his viability. And I think that going forward, they're going to have a harder time trying to subvert him going forward. A couple other things, and I'll get your comments real quickly. Listen to this. This came out. I think Fox News put this out. I think this comes from Edward T. Wilson. Nobody's telling you what SCOTUS actually handed Trump today. This is good. Again, there has been so much good subject matter and talk and breakdowns and discussions on X regarding this. So I took a lot of time, a lot of swath of putting stuff together, molding this, shaping this so you can understand it. Here it is. Darlell, thank you for the can. Trump administration is doing a fantastic job exposing all the fraudsters. Yeah, we've never known a level of corruption. Absolutely. Darlell, thank you for the can. Just wanted to make sure you're aware that Rosa DeLauro looks like Robert Mueller in drag. I can't unsee it. All right. Sean Joe, what's up? Thank you for the can. Darlo, gift of the can. Good evening, Brett. The Lone Ranger, great to see you. Sorry for Marshall. Yeah, never easy losing a family member. Yeah, pets or family. Yeah, thank you, Wood USA, for 219 gold bells. I guess he's got a growth in his mouth, and I don't know if it's benign or not, but that's what he told me. So he can't, in some way, want to suggest that he can be a part of it. And, so I get it. I understand that, it's like, hey, I don't want to say I'm going to do it and bail out. He's not that kind of person. So he doesn't want to put me in that position. And it's not a big deal. I said, come on when you want. Not a big deal. It's all good. So he puts this out. Nobody's telling what SCOTUS actually handed Trump today. He said the headlines say Trump wins the right to fire FTC commissioner. That's the smallest version of the story. Here's what actually happened. Since 1935, Humphrey's executive versus the United States has been the legal wall protecting every independent agency from direct presidential control, antitrust enforcement, merger reviews, consumer protection, which I talked about, labor relations, and securities regulation. We just mentioned some of these agencies. The wall is gone, as Linda Perito was discussing. And here's what we know, or nobody wants to say out loud. Democrats spent the last 4 years loading those commissioners with commissioners specifically designed to block Trump's agenda from inside his own executive branch. Yes, this is the breakdown. Rebecca Kelly Slaughter was one of them. Fired March 2025. She sued today, and she lost. The FTC is just the first domino. NLRB, SEC, EEOC, every commission that wields executive power now sits under the same logic that the court just applied. 91 years, a precedent gone in one opinion. One carve-out, the Federal Reserve, explicitly protected, separate statutory structure, separate litigation, still running. Yep. Everything else just became the president to control. And to think about it, we were talking about it all the time, is how the Treasury Department is slowly engulfing the Federal Reserve. There's just so much speculation and lore about the Federal Reserve and where it's going. I mean, the place has been unoccupied for 6 years. So where are they working from? We're under some auspices to believe that Federal Reserve hasn't been completely disbanded or broken down or deconstructed in some way, or absolved totally by the by the Treasury Department. I'm not sure. I don't know where that lies. Maybe we'll hear something more in the future. But this is an interesting way looking at this and seeing how this shadows everything else. It's a separate entity that will be dealt by itself with other matters. I'll keep you updated to turn on notifications. Okay, we don't have to play that. I just wanted to hear that breakdown. Let's continue on. Some good stuff. Captain Kyle puts this out. Really good stuff. We're going to get into the PEDs. I think we're coming back to the PEDs, and I'll remind people what they are very soon. Here it is. He puts this up, ladies and gentlemen. This is really good stuff. Let's see, Glory B, what's up? Get them, Mr. President. Yeah, absolutely. This whole thing, you have to spin it. The Cook case, put it aside. Doesn't matter. This case was massive. No, we'll get into the ballot problem, the RNC versus Watson, but, there's other things that are in play. I also think the RNC versus Watson, getting Coney Barrett and all, Justice Roberts was 5-4 decision, moving this and setting the precedent, as she said, it's now up to Congress to do it. It's Congress's job, okay, to set the precedent, to set the laws, okay, to once and for all control the ballots, control this. Yeah, it's Save America Act is one thing, but you can make addendums to this. You could change this. You could leave it up to the states. No, you have to set a precedent. Will Congress act? I still think the Save America Act is going to come into play after the Senate returns, probably sometime in August. Now, they return July 13th, so I'm thinking sometime in August, mid-August. I don't think it's a ploy. I mean, some people posit that theory that it's a ploy to get other legislation up there, but with the SCOTUS ruling today, this only puts more pressure on John Thune, and also to fire this parliamentarian that's been around since the Obama days that's a Democrat. And I think there's going to be ample amount of this stuff. I think when he comes back, there might be a vote against John Thune to remove him as majority leader. We'll see. So the big win just moments ago, here it is, presidential powers, the PEDs, ladies and gentlemen, presidential emergency action documents. When we heard a lot about this in the first term after President Trump, the election was stolen from him, all these different things in the transition, the military takeover, in between 45 and 47, the fake Biden presidency, the fake auto pen administration, are highly specific classified subset of the president's emergency powers. They are pre-drafted executive orders, proclamations, and messages to Congress kept ready to sign in case of a severe crisis like a nuclear attack, 1, 2, 3, 4, while president's standard powers are defined by Article 2 of the Constitution. PEDs are specialized to break glass in case of. Basically, it's a continuity of government type of scenarios. And I'm going to read a little bit about this to remind you. So it says here, let's F and go. And here it is, big win. Look at what he says here, right at the bottom. One of the most important ever given respect to presidential powers. Thank you for your attention. So whatever is now put in his possession, these PEDs also act as something that will help him bifurcate and be utilized in some way to not just disseminate and to dissect and to deconstruct those agencies, maybe break them down, remove them once and for all. The question is, what's the pushback going to be? Now, we have around 50 active. The U.S. is currently in multiple overlapping national emergencies, around 50 active as of today. And they go back decades. Many are renewed annually by both parties. This is not a single state of emergency like 9/11 or COVID. It is a fragmented, ongoing legal status that activates specific statutory powers. These are powers like the national energy, the southern border, stuff like that. The PEDs, the presidential emergency action documents, are classified, and they're pre-drafted contingencies, highly classified, that are secret. The plans to sit one layer deeper than the statutory powers. Think about that. So they're below those powers. And there's a reason why. They're also called final drafts of the presidential messages for proposed legislation and proclamations on other formal documents. So the secret EOs of proclamations, messages to Congress prepared in advance for a range of what? hypothetical scenarios. What are they? What do you expect to happen? And this is all based on the National Emergency Act of 1976 that perceives any unusual, extraordinary event to the nation's security economy. Now, we have many executive orders going back to the first term. I harken back to 13848, which is basically the foreign interference. I wonder if that's going to be utilized right now in some way. I wonder if that's going to come in that is going to upset the apple cart. I wonder if he's going to use this now to go after, I think, the election. And I always wondered if we're going to have election in some way. You know, you got to consider that. I wonder in some way if we're going to have an election. Now, only Congress can do something about that, but we don't know how far and wide these PEDs go, that the president can do anything to stop this based upon the executive orders and proclamations to Congress. All right, by forwarding this to Congress to let them know that this is going to be done. I mean, we already have what we know, that's 56 active PEDs as of 2017. One of them is the suspension of habeas corpus. Yes, that you can do that. I still think that's viable. And now I don't know if there's going to be martial law or anything like that. You'd have to have something really major to contend with. But what way do you think it is that we have to block, okay, that we have to block the elections in some way? Now, tomorrow, before the Supreme Court goes into recess, before they go on hiatus, July 1st, tomorrow's the 30th, they're going to break down, I believe. We're going to find all the information on the rulings based upon what we're hearing right now, which is the 14th Amendment and the discussion about the 14th Amendment regarding birthright citizenship and how it's applied, how it was not applied properly. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. We'll find out how that goes where this is. But, you know, now I'm starting to realize that maybe 60-40. I'm starting to realize maybe 60-40. I didn't feel good all day, and then I was watching a lot of different people and then seeing how the Supreme Court ruled. So I wasn't really sure what to gauge. I don't know what your thoughts are. I also dropped if you want to come on the show, it's just me and you guys. I drop these. I drop them all the time now, so you guys can. So I'm not rambling all the time. If you want to have a conversation about this, I drop this so you can call in. You do what you want. That's fine by me. I always put this out. All right, let me continue because this comes from Awaken Outlaw, and this was an old post that he had. I think it was like a couple of years, but I found this, and this was an interesting old post that Awaken Outlaw put up. Remember all the times that the Democrats have tried to get their hands on the PEDs. Yep. Trump signed before leaving office. Yeah, there was a period of time in the summer of 2020, that Nadler had requested to find out where these PEDs were. See, the whole thing about the documents and Mar-a-Lago and raiding was this. This is what they wanted. And of course, they're not going to keep them there. Wherever they are, they're going to be in a place that you can't get. But for some reason, they felt that they were there. And that's why the FBI was sent there illegally, unlawfully. Yeah. Presidential emergency action documents are draft classified executive orders, proclamations, and messages. This was what they were looking for. And Nadler tried to find them as well. And I have the dates here. This was good by Awaken Outlaw. Prepare for the president of the United States to exercise and expand powers. And only the president sees this. I mean, I don't know why people think this, but they were trying to gauge and see this information. On April 24, 2020, the House Judiciary Committee by Gerald Nadler and Subcommittee on the Constitution, Civil Rights, Civil Liberties Chairman Steve Cummins sent a letter to Attorney General William Barr requesting a briefing and documents related to the PEDs. Ooh. See, here's the question. Did Biden receive any of them? Because they're passed down to the president. You know, they're active. So every president is afforded this opportunity to see the exact current context. Contents, which are unknown to the public, most members of Congress, and many executive branch officials. So the question is, why were they trying to get their hands on this stuff if Biden was the legitimate president? Because he wasn't, and he never saw any of these. So it was never passed over to him. The military was in control, or at least that's what we're led to believe. Here it is. On May 5th, 2020, Senator Ed Markey introduced the Restraint of the Executive in Governing a Nation Act of 2020, requiring that the president disclose PEDs to the appropriate congressional committees. According to the Associated Press, in 2020, a bipartisan group of senators sent the letter to then acting director of national intelligence, Richard Grenell, asking to be briefed on the PEDs. On September 23rd, 2020, House Democrats introduced, as part of Protecting Our Democracy Act, required that the president disclose these PEDs to relevant congressional committees. Wow. And on May 17th, the House Judiciary Committee on the Constitution, Civil Rights, and Civil Liberties held a hearing on reforming emergency powers, including the PEDs. Yeah, that didn't turn out too well. Okay, that didn't work for them. They were never, excuse me, can't speak today. They were never able to do that because these are continuity of government type things. You have to have high classifications. They're for the president's eyes only, so to speak, and many other people that are classified in the intel group that knows this, probably the military most likely, for continuity of government. But when you understand why they were looking at this, they were trying to find out what the plan of action was. They were trying to find out what they were guessing on. Here comes from Observing Consciousness. If you're on X, you need to read this person's post. I like a lot of this stuff that comes out. I know a lot of big name platforms use this stuff in some way. This is really good stuff. SCOTUS handed Congress the key. The Supreme Court just moved the election integrity battle out of the courtroom directly into Congress. The majority ruled that a ballot cast by Election Day may still arrive and be counted later under state law. That's the key, under state law. Then the court placed the remedy in plain sight. Election integrity, voter confidence, and any national ballot receipt deadline must be addressed by elected representatives. Trump seized the opening immediately. He's converting as a judicial loss in a legislative forcing function. Photo ID establishes the voter. Proof of citizenship establishes eligibility. Firm limits on mail voting to reduce the number of handoffs between the voter, the carrier, and the election office and the tabulating system. Identity, eligibility, chain of custody, timing. Together, they form the foundation of a sovereign election stacked that they can be audited across every state. The third demand is the tell. The House passed the Save America Act already. Yeah, they're going to do it 4 times. I'm going to show you Maria Bartiromo and the Speaker of the House talking about it on Sunday. And they're going to pass it one more time with adding new stuff to it as they get it out of the House back to the Senate, which I think now it's going to go through. While its current language still allows mail-in ballots through additional verification, Trump has now raised the negotiating baseline and defined a stronger architecture he expects the Senate to deliver. I think we'll soon watch Congress begin coming around, and they will arrive slowly enough to preserve the appearance of randomness. One senator here, another there, keeping them guessing about who will move next and when the remaining resistance will collapse. I'm not going to read all of it, but I think that was a good overview. You got some comments over here? Yeah, my voice is shot. Yeah, my allergies are killing me. I don't feel good about tomorrow's decision. Hope I'm wrong. I felt that way too. I had, good part of the day, Nancy, and I wasn't feeling good about it either, based upon how this is. But I watched quite a bit of discussions and rulings, and the only thing I can look at it now is that there was a video of Thomas being asked questions. He was on the Hill today. Why would the Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas be there? I mean, is he giving them good news or bad? I mean, obviously, he went there for the speaker or somebody to talk to about this. So question is, what's going to happen? I mean, let's take it. I mean, the worst case scenario, if they don't, okay? Well, let's see the dissenting opinion of why they feel the 14th Amendment is not a squatter's haven for any dirtbag, third world scumbag, shithole that come over here, pop a squat, shit out a kid, and that kid, that's their homeland. No, it doesn't work like that. I think this is going to change the trajectory. But look, that's why I think the PEDs and all these things are in place. Okay? They also bifurcate. This is continuity of government. Remember, we're an active, as I just said. We are an overlapping 50 active national emergencies as we speak. Mostly statutory national emergencies. But the point being is that if we have the evidence for the fraud, we have the evidence for all this other stuff, when is the proper time to release this, to declare this, and then utilize the PEDs to come in some way to address the situation in hand and whatever they're going to address, whether you want to suspend habeas corpus, you want to do whatever you got to do. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. I'm done guessing to figure it out. I'm looking forward to hearing what's going to happen. But overall, I think that We should remain positive, probably pray in some way, see if that helps you. I mean, honestly, the interpretation of the 14th Amendment is going to be, I know President Trump was asked about that. He seemed kind of coy. I think I got a video on that. But here it is, election wizard. The Supreme Court ballot decision doesn't say late ballots are required. It just says current federal law doesn't ban them. See, Congress can change that tomorrow. Again, that's why we're seeing right now, as we speak, that they're going to now put together more stuff, repackage this out to send to the Senate. So when the Senate returns, that they'll slowly, as Observing Consciousness was writing, that they'll slowly add one or two more people that will be comfortable with way the bill looks. Election deadlines all within Congress, because there's about 4 people holding this up. That's basically it. 4 people holding up. And I think the pressure is going to be on. All right, let's move on. You guys are all kind of quiet out there. Like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a gold pill. Comments, question, concern can help us out on Rumble. Drop us a Rumble rant. Let's hear your thoughts. Let's hear your thoughts. God is on our side. Strategy with every move. Yeah. I mean, look, there are senators right now exposing what is taking place with the election. And I want to show you this. Senator Eric Schmidt, he's the Missouri senator. So he's coming out and saying that Alito's dissent lays out at plain and day. The opinions open the door to more fraud, and it's not difficult to understand why. See, he's laying that out. Outside of military ballots that show up after Election Day should not be counted. They are highly suspect. Well, yeah. I mean, finally, today's decision leaves the opportunities for voter fraud. Alito's saying this. He's basically saying we're going to have a national emergency. And this is going to trigger a national emergency based upon what they ruled today in a 5-4 decision. I mean, yeah, Amy Coney Barrett and Roberts, they sided with the liberals to do this, and she's paid off. You know, that book deal in 2021, she got $2 million in advance. She's totally paid off. I mean, this is the thing with this. And look, this is how the Democrats steal elections. So in order to fix this, the House and Senate, while we have them together right now, all right, is to do their due diligence to make sure that we can bifurcate this. We could stop this craziness. I mean, honestly, it's just nuts. Everything that's going on, the way they're doing it. But I think up until this point, in the next couple of months leading up to the election, that this is going to be the marker that breaks everything. Because whatever comes out of this, if there is an election or not for the midterms, this will be used as a prime example of everything. So if we get this passed, all right, and this is implemented before everything gets into play, and other states don't follow this, they will use this, all right, highly contentious bill. If they pass this right, pass this straightforward, you're going to be able to go through this as an expose, as a line item of every freaking, let's just say, state that goes through the process, every district, every county in the state that goes through operating under this, let's just say, fraud. And it's proven in every different way, which it will be, and I think this is going to be used as the example, well, then look out. Get ready, because they're about to be smacked in the nuts. But I think tomorrow, I have a good feeling about it. I'm going 60-40. All right? I think, they'll take their win today, and that's fine. Let them take their win today with the ballots, but that could be course corrected. You know, it just has to have the will of the Congress, and I think the House Republicans are going to move this forward. They're going to start to add stuff, so it's going to be good. Yeah, I think it's great. Oh, you watched Citizen Vigilante last night? I think it's Brett's kind of movie. Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's on Apple. I watched what do you call it had, and then I picked up watching the rest of it last night. Yep. No, it's good. It's good. I mean, I've been saying all this. I know a lot of people, I've been saying this left and right, how I feel about vigilante justice. All right. There's a reason why vigilante justice is now in what? The lexicon. Okay. And it's going to continue to grow and grow and grow. And I say, how do we ship guns to Great Britain, to UK? It's probably illegal. I'm just saying, why don't we send them armaments? Why don't we send them guns? If you were the cartel or something, why aren't you shipping guns? You know, I'm not trying to give anybody ideas and stuff, but look, you want a revolution to happen, there you go. You get them weapons, it's game over. Same thing with the Irish. I mean, they've been invaded, no doubt about it, and their leaders aren't doing shit. You see that the Prime Minister Keir Starmer stepped down. They got this new guy that's in there, Bushner, and he's not going to stay at 10 Downing Street, apparently. He's not going to live there. Interesting. So the new Prime Minister that's going to be coming in, it said he's not going to be living at 10 Downing Street. I wonder why. It's a deep state rat hellhole. Same thing with the king. The king doesn't live. The king and queen now don't live at what? Windsor Castle? I mean, what's going on? What's happening in Great Britain? Are they slowly being deconstructed? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with them, with this new leader, where everything's shaping up. But I hope in some way that they're able to course correct this before it gets worse. Because if they fall in some way, that country falls, it's going to impact everybody. It's going to spread like a domino effect, like it's doing in France. See that 5 migrants jumped that white kid in France, and they beat him to death, killed him, choked him. I'm telling you, the movie resonates so much. It's not just resonating overseas. Vigilante justice is right here at home. When these people walk, they continue to walk out of the justice system, out of these courts all the time, 30, 40 times, like they killed Irina and many other people. They sport kill. They have all these the sport kills all over the place. They're running over people left and right. How about the 2 girls that just sliced off pieces, chopped up pieces of this woman, of this mother of five in Texas? What the hell is that? Just people, just animals. The law can't protect you on everything. You can't rely on that. I think that's the point. That's the predicate of it. You can't. Why would you? That's the bottom line. That's why we have the Second Amendment. I mean, I say it all the time. I don't really fucking care. You put these motherfuckers down. That's the bottom. It's either you or them. I mean, that's it. It's that simple. It's that simple. President Trump calls on the Supreme Court to do the right thing tomorrow and abolish birthright citizenship. He nails it. No other nation does birthright citizenship like America does. Yeah, it's tremendously destructive and extremely costly. It's up to them. But in terms for the good of the country, it would be great if they didn't allow it. Let's listen.
Yawn.
Mr. President,
birthright citizenship is next. What are your thoughts? Birthright citizenship. What are your thoughts? And will you accept it if it rules against you?
well, I guess I have to accept it's the Supreme Court, so I'll accept. I think it's very bad for our nation. We're the only nation that does it. No other nation does that birthright citizenship. No, not even close. Some did it, they ended it. It's tremendously destructive. It's extremely costly. I don't know, it's up to them. But in terms of for the good of the country, it'd be great if they didn't allow it. It would be great. But I can't tell you, the Slaughter case was the big case today. That was really a big case because it gave strength to presidents and strength to the presidency, a very important case. It's been going on for almost 100 years, think of that. And this was the ruling that really topped everything by a lot today. Yeah.
Mr. President, Zohran Mamdani said in an interview this week that he...
No one cares about Zohran Mamdani. I mean, New York is freaking toast. It's toast. But look, he's pointing out, will he abide by it? He doesn't seem to be concerned. At least he's not showing his hand. He's not showing his hand in some way. Either he knows the outcome, which I think he does. Believe it or not, I think he does. It's just an odd coincidence that Clarence Thomas was on the Hill today, just walking around, reporters asking questions. Can you give us an insight about everything? He's like, no. Who are you here to see? None of your business. I mean, you could take it any way you want. Either he's letting him know that it's not going to happen or it's going to happen. I don't know, or prepare. Remember, if they rule that the 14th Amendment and how it's being applied right now, all these people are gone. Think about how many people, 250,000, I was reading, annually, pop a squat have a kid pop out of their fucking whatever. All right. And next thing you know, this land is your land. No, it's not your land. Okay. Because you snuck in the back door. You had to take a shit and end up having a kid at the same moment. And there you go. And so that dirt slop that came out of your ass is now what? An American citizen? Because you snuck in the back door? You came in from a container or a freighter? You crossed the border illegally? You backdoored it every way you can? Please, spare me with that bullshit. No one buys that. And the idea that 350,000 Haitians got to go home? Yeah. There's no temporary status. That's all gone. They ruled in that favor. And I think since they ruled in that favor about that and the 6,000 Syrians gives me a complete, let's just say, positive, futuristic understanding about where the birthright citizenship is. Because if they were to rule in favor about temporary permanent status, then they would have ruled against, I think, that. So maybe those two in some way juxtapose in a position that it's possible and we're not really seeing. All right, let's move on. I got a couple other things here. Here, let me show you the wonderful family of Supreme Court Judge Amy Coney Barrett. You notice anything here? I'm trying to stay optimistic about the SCOTUS ruling on birthright citizenship tomorrow, but that cunt Amy literally has Haitian children. Are we cooked? I mean, that's something to consider, right? I mean, there's some people. I mean, Alita, are you guys seeing this? I mean, there's some people like, there you go. You worried that she's going to rule against this in some way? Can you count on her? No, you can't trust her. That depends what Robert's going to do. He's got 2 adopted kids. I don't think from Haiti. Where do you get them from? I don't know. I mean, we got to stop this. The mud sharking and all this stuff. We got to stop all this. I mean, it's ridiculous. No one. If you have a kid in another country like France or something like that, that kid is not French. They're not going to give that kid quarter and say, oh, they got citizenship. She voted to end TPS, Rise. Yeah, I know she did, Sean Joe. I know she did, but TPS did go through. Okay? The temporary permanent status did go through. I know that. Okay? Yeah, so your point is valid that if she voted to end that, it's most likely she's going to vote against the 14th Amendment in this matter, or the way it's being interpreted and viewed about how they see this. Really, it's about how we're going to hear about the dissent. That's a good point. I get you, Sean Joe. And most likely, it's really going to be resting upon everybody else. I mean, most likely Roberts, because the other 3 libs, they're not going to. And maybe so do more. I don't know. I doubt Kagan. Ketanji needs a weave. Yeah, I know. Garbage humans. Here's Geiger Capitalism puts this up. I like this one a lot. Makes a good comment. Makes a good thought here. Like I said, a lot of great stuff out there. The Supreme Court will rule on birthright citizenship tomorrow morning. That's pretty positive. It's not exaggeration to say this, but this could be the most important decision in our lifetimes. I think we all agree to that. Under the current, you know what? Let me take that back, because I thought today's ruling against, I think today's ruling with Trump v. Slaughter really just changed everything. It basically just plowed the field and removing the administrative state after 100 years. Yeah, so I'd have to say that it was the most important thing. After 100 years, now the president of the United States can remove the deep state, the administrative state, the bureaucratic state, the state that's been held in play in check of all the presidents for the last 91 years or 100 years. So maybe this is the second point to this. It's not an exaggeration to say this, but under the current interpretation of the 14th Amendment, a foreign citizen of another nation can cross a border illegally at 9 months pregnant, give birth to an American citizen, and then return home. Their child is now eligible for U.S. benefits and can vote in our elections. How is that even fucking possible? Yeah, that's why I think in some way we're going to have to beef up the Save America Act too, to add some of these other provisions in here that could bifurcate this. You know, I think in some way you're going to have to. The Chinese can also pay to have a surrogate child or children on U.S. territorial islands in the Pacific, then immediately ship the babies to China to be raised under CCP control. Those children are now eligible for U.S. benefits and can vote in our elections. Wow. So both of these scenarios are happening. It's simply wrong and not all what the amendment was intended for, which was the former slaves and the children during, excuse me, my allergies are killing me, during Reconstruction. And if it stands, U.S. citizenship means nothing. Right on point. Very good analysis. You know what? There's so much good analysis on X, without like insulting everybody and calling people the N-word and mud sharks and moving away from there was actually good conversations, good, like you say, introspection about what's taking place regarding everything here. And I think that's a good sign that people are paying attention. They're wholly invested into what is taking place with the Supreme Court. All eyes are on the Supreme Court in every facet, in every way. And, it motivates people to look, hey, what are we going to do about this? What is going to happen if it doesn't come in our favor? Is there a plan of action? Yeah, I think there is. Do I know what it is at the time? No, I don't know. I'm not a Barrett fan, but she needs to be more conservative. Yeah, I don't know about that. I think she was bought off in 2021 with that book deal, getting advanced $2 million. Go look that up. Actually, there's an article in the Independent about that from 2021. So, yeah. What's an N-word? Exactly. Yeah, the nagger word. Sean Doe. Yeah, I got fucking YouTube went after me. Curious Cat gifted the cookie. Thank you so much. Sean Joe, thank you for the cookie. Senior Apollo, what's up? Gifted the cookie. Brett, wouldn't fruit from the poisonous tree apply to anchor babies? It should. I don't know how they're going to apply it, though. I mean, that we're going to have to see how the dissent is written. And depend if there's a majority win in this, what is the dissent going to be? I mean, I don't know who's going to write it. We're going to have to see, because if they lose this case or in some way this goes forward and I'm looking right now, my guess it's going to be 5-4. I'd be shocked if it's 6-3. I think it's going to be 5-4 in favor of the 14th Amendment and ending the birthright scenario. So that's my guess. I mean, it's going to be a slim picking fight. Thank you, Sean Joe, for the cookie. Darla, can the Trump administration doing a fantastic job exposing all the fraudsters? Yeah, they're doing a fantastic job about everything. I mean, this is another good example. President Trump announces he has other ways to file fraudster Democrat Fed Governor Lisa Cook. So here's the response here, the retort. The Cook lawsuit having to do with her suitability and sitting on the board of Federal Reserve was sent back by the Supreme Court on a strictly procedural basis, which will take appropriate action immediately to make sure that someone who's committed wrongdoing will not be making vital decisions concerning the welfare of the United States of America. Thank you for this attention. The odd thing is, what happens if she committed murder? Okay. And she's charged with murder and the Supreme Court was looking at this and they fired her because of this. Would they have the same opinion if it wasn't based financially or economically in here? That's what I'm wondering. Because they're saying the ruling here, this procedural basis is that you have to take appropriate action immediately to make sure that someone who's committed, which is mortgage fraud, will have to be taken up with the Justice Department in some way. And then from the Justice Department indicting her and then going through the status of saying, hey, look, your removal is based upon this through an indictment. I mean, okay. I mean, they're not above the law. To say that you commit crimes and you sit as a Fed governor and you think you're absolved from that? No, that's that. Especially when you're committing economic crimes, It's almost a joke in some way that we sit back and say, oh, but that's how it is. It's the same thing like insider trading, All right, let's continue on. There's so much good stuff, man. Here it is, CNBC. Here's another court case. Supreme Court did not take up the E. Jean Carroll case. They said they left it back to the lower court. So the Supreme Court rejects Trump's bid to appeal E. Jean Carroll $5 million verdict. Yeah, I mean, but there was assessment of all these damages. Now it's only $5 million. So the Supreme Court said it would not hear an appeal by President Trump of the New York federal court verdict, the writer E. Jean Carroll. Trump separately was found civilly liable for another Manhattan court having defamed Carroll, and she was awarded $83 million, which is ridiculous. Trump has denied Carroll's claims that he sexually assaulted her. I think you all get that. The Supreme Court on Monday said it would not hear her appeal by President Trump. Okay, so just because it doesn't hear her appeal and stuff doesn't mean there's other avenues to appeal this in some way. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't know what's going to happen about this. Where else can he go? Can he turn to a circuit court, another federal judge? Can he have this case relitigated? I don't know. I mean, are we going to go after her for some way because of her testimony, filing false testimonies, perjuring herself? It's possible. There might be things in the background. I mean, how about we go after Reid Hoffman for funding this thing? I mean, which she lied about. So Trump separately won and found civilly liable another Manhattan federal court judge having defamed Carroll, which he's appealing to at the lower federal appeals court. Okay. So, I mean, that's it. I don't, it's sad in some way that they didn't take it up, but this was too high profile. And the reason why they didn't take it up is because if they took it up and they didn't, let's just say they didn't rule in his favor. Okay. What would that say? What would that say? Now they could turn around and say, all right, well, if we don't take it up and we send it back to the lower court, then that means there's a possibility they might have to hear this again and hear new arguments about this, new information about this. So they set the precedent by allowing the lower court to continue on with this in some way and have new information that could be added to this in some way that wasn't originally sent to the Supreme Court. They just said, we're not going to take the case up. Doesn't mean they'll never take the case up. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with that. It's a very odd thing about that, but I didn't think that case is going to have any merit hitting the Supreme Court. That's just not something they're going to decide on. That's just too hot to handle, in so many different ways. I mean, it's not like I believe her. No one believes her. I'm just saying that case right there, you got so many other things to rule on. Just put that aside. So it was probably a good thing. All right, let's move on. Listen to Harry Eaton on CNN. Comes out. They just believe this garbage. CNN data guru rips Republicans over Trump 2020 election conspiracy. You notice how you're starting to hear the embers of this discussion left and right. There are more and more people pushing back about the 2020 narrative. It's all over the place. There's not one news rag or media shill out there in the progressive leftist news, in the legacy media, and they're not discussing this in any way. And the prevailing argument is like, well, they're not looking hard enough, or there hasn't been enough evidence to show them this in some way. We obviously have evidence, but we're holding on to it in some way for the right moment. I don't know when that right moment is, but you're going to have to, in some way, put all this stuff together. And whether it has to be litigated or not, I don't know. I mean, you have to prove it in court in some way. I don't know. But the idea that they keep pushing this, and the closer we get to the election, is how I think we're going to show this in some way. So this might be a good thing for the long term, but in the short term, they keep pushing this narrative.
Honestly, Mike Collins is starting to feel a whole heck of a lot like Herschel Walker 2.0. You can remember Walker, of course, ran for the Senate in Georgia, lost that race in 2022, a very winnable seat. But he fits in very well with how Republicans still feel about the 2020 election. I mean, they just believe this garbage. Look at this. GOP who say that the 2020 election was stolen. Back in 2021, just after the 2020 election, 60% of Republicans believe that the 2020 election was stolen. Of course, there is no proof of that whatsoever. Come forward 5 years later. Again, there's no proof, but now 63% of Republicans believe that the 2020 election was stolen. So Mike Collins' comments to Manu Raju make a whole heck of a lot of sense when you put it in the larger polling picture, which is that most Republicans, despite all the evidence to the contrary, believe that the 2020 election was in fact stolen.
Wow. How about that? So over time, it's increasing. And I think after what we saw in LA, the more this is pivoting into the midterms. Is the midterms going to be this great arbiter of truth? And it's going to, in some way, we're going to see the Save America Act with many different installments in there to protect the voter roll, to protect the citizen, to protect the integrity of voting in general. I think so. I think it's going to happen. I do. I have faith. I'm an optimist in a lot of ways. I'm not a Debbie Downer or doomer. When it comes to shit like this, I'm a total optimist. Like when I say about how I feel about when we're talking about Great Britain and Ireland and the citizen vigilante citizenship. I've been talking about that shit for a while. You know, that's like no news to me. And now they make a movie and now it's grandiose. I've been saying that shit for like years now. I talk about this all the time. And now here we are where the increase of numbers, okay, by GOP, by Republicans who believe the election was stolen is because of what we just saw in LA. And it's not just that. We know it was stolen. You're still counting ballots, all right, in the LA primary. How is that possible? She won. So you got to still keep counting the ballots and see what's going on. Yeah, the guy's on CNN. I understand that. But they're trying to set this up in some way that no matter what happens, come the midterms, that they're going to say it's the Republicans and President Trump saying the election was rigged and stolen. Absolutely. If it doesn't go to our favor, that's what they're going to say.
A winning message in a general election?
No, this is the whole problem, which is the Republican Party is in one camp all the way over here on the right, and the rest of the American public is in the same camp in the actual, this is the real world we're dealing with camp. Take a look at this. Okay. Americans on the 2020 election, they say not stolen, stolen. In 2021, about 3 in 5, 59% say not stolen. Look at this now. We're talking about 2 in 3. If anything, that number has gone up a little bit. 64% of Americans say that the 2020 election was not stolen. Stolen 32, 31, about the same, about 3 in 10 Americans. So what you see is that the American people are in one camp, believing the results, rightfully believing the results of the 2020 election. And then you have Republicans all the way in another camp. It is a losing message. That is why I say that Mike Collins is starting to sound like Herschel Walker 2.0, because that's a winnable seat for Republicans. And comments like that make it very difficult to win.
Well, could you argue Donald Trump is so popular in Georgia that maybe Mike Collins would want to lean into that message because he thinks that the Trump popularity will drag him over the finish line?
If Mike Collins thinks that Donald Trump is going to carry him over the finish line, then I have a brave new world that he needs to face, because that is a belief that, just simply put, is not on this planet. It is in some galaxy far, far away. Trump's net popularity in Georgia. Look at this. Among Republicans, hey, yeah, winning a Republican primary, you want to be backed by Donald Trump. Plus 64 points. Donald Trump very much on the positive side of the ledger. But among all voters, Donald Trump deeply underwater, heading right off Savannah into the Atlantic.
I'm going to tell you, Georgia, like Arizona, wholly captured, wholly corrupted. You know what? Don't be surprised if Georgia turns blue. Yep. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. I mean, it's a corrupt state. It's rife with corruption. I don't know what's going to happen there. I mean, remember Brad Raffensperger? Remember the former governor? When you see about all these things and how these things are unfurling out, Georgia's I don't know what's going to happen with Georgia. I really don't. But the idea that you're seeing 64%, and they're saying, well, the numbers are greater, which is Americans that are polling as independents or Democrats or non-affiliated at 64% who don't believe the election was stolen. Yeah, because they're not involved with believing all that stuff, because they don't even care. They're probably, because of the fact is those people in there, they're involved with the theft themselves. So I'm like, yeah, there's no theft. Meanwhile, they're stealing. Did they poll those people? That's why I find it. That's why when you look at polls and stuff, they don't really mean anything PC native. Georgia's been corrupt for a long time. Yeah, it's been garbage. What's up, Sauce and Cilantro? I saw you up there. You were around here. He's hanging around somewhere. Yeah. I mean, look, I look at it this way. The problem with Georgia going forward is that, how are we going to move? How are we going to get rid of these senators that are garbage in some way that were basically allowed to lock in during the stolen election, during the transition of the Insurrection Act, everything that was going in that we allowed? I don't know. I mean, I just don't know where Georgia is going right now. And if you're from Georgia, I'm sorry. Yeah, Atlanta is burning 2.0. I would get out of that state. Oh, my God. I couldn't imagine living there. I just couldn't. I really couldn't. I mean, think about it. The white population there is like less than 35%. I mean, there you go. That's all you need to know, right? How's that going to work out for you? Not too good. Not too good. Here it is. And we know puts this out. Speaker Johnson just announced the House will vote on the Save America Act again. I told the president I don't have any tattoos, but if I did, I'd save the Save America on my shoulder. Funny.
We have, and the president and I laughed about it in the Oval last week. I told him, you know, Mr. President, I don't have any tattoos, but if I did, it'd say Save America on my shoulder, okay? We passed it 3 times in the House already.
3 times?
We're going to pass it again, and this time we're going to try to put it on a reconciliation bill, and the reason that's so important, Maria, as you know, is it prevents the necessity of 60 votes in the Senate. The Democrats want no part of this. And remember, this is very basic stuff. We're just going to make sure you have to have proof of citizenship to register to vote, and then show an ID when you turn out at the ballot box. These are 90-10 public opinion issues, and more than 70% of Democrats want to do it, but not the Democrats in the House and Senate. And so we've got to go around them. And I told Anna Paulina Luna and a couple other colleagues, I said, it makes no sense for us to shut down our good work in the House just because Senate Democrats refuse to do the people's will. We've got a lot more to do. We got to keep it going.
Well, that's a good thing. I like Speaker Johnson. I'm probably one of the few people that do. I would always toot his horn. I always thought he's there purposely. He was the plan of action by Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz did a great job. I mean, without this guy as Speaker, half the shit wouldn't even get done. I mean, think about how slim the margin is. And what he's done is just impressive. I know a lot of people don't see that because it's, congressional politics and all that stuff is wonky, but I don't think you understand how he is able to get a lot of these things through. It's quite amazing. Who saw the Senior Polo says you live mostly Fulton County and surrounding areas, PC native. You live there? You don't live in Atlanta. You live in the suburbs, like what, Buckhead and all those areas, or just north of there? An hour out. Yeah. See, if they only needed 50 in the Senate, it might pass. Well, that's the whole point. I mean, that's why Senator Lee was asking about about the vice president coming in there and saying, "Hey, let's move this aside. Let's get this to vote, and I'll push this through, and I'll sign it." I don't know what we're going to do about that, but look, if you can get the reconciliation there, you can force it without getting 60 votes. Cherokee, North Georgia. Okay, is that a nice area? It's all woody, mountainous. I've been to Savannah. I've been to Atlanta. I like neither, and I'll leave it at that. I like neither. Or neither. However, I lived in a small town in Georgia outside Columbus. Georgia, very racist. Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's what a garbage state. Yep. Sad in some way when you think about it. I mean, and if you're not, and I guess what Senior Polo says, if you're living outside the area, an hour or two, maybe longer and stuff, the vice president is busy elsewhere. Yeah, he is. I don't know if he's going to be in play about this. I don't know where where he is going to actually have a scenario in here, but they're trying to get Mitch. Is Mitch McConnell still in the hospital? What, he's been like 15 days missing? Is he even still alive? You got Susan Collins, Murkowski. I think Rand Paul's come around. You got Tillis, Bill Cassidy. You got all these people. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know. A lot of them they're gone. They got booted out. So they might not care. I don't know if they want to run again. We'll see. But here's Mike DeWine, a garbage governor of Ohio. Him and John Kasich, his former predecessor, who was suggesting the same thing here. DeWine, it's not true the United States' interest to deport immigrants on a TPS. It's not the United States' interest. Fortunately, the United States didn't elect you to make a determination, Governor. This guy is a joke.
But the other point,
this guy's a joke. That's why the polling
the United States is
right now in Ohio,
certainly not
for a gubernatorial and its Senate are down.
Single day, who are supporting a family, who are buying houses, fixing up old houses.
How are they buying houses? How are they fixing up houses when they're roaming the streets eating cats and dogs? Where are they getting this money from? If we're not buying houses, how the fuck are they buying houses? Who gave them the money? Oh my God. And to defend these people, to defend them, you can't even defend your own Ohio citizens who are struggling. But you'll sit there and go, no, we need these people. We need these people. What, to cook and clean for you? To do your fucking laundry? To wash your drawers? Please, spare me that bullshit. Wash your car? Wax my car? Fucking what? Please. Guy's a garbage governor. And if you're from Ohio like Trump 1 is, good riddance. And you know what? Hold your nose to Swami, because you're going to have to. You don't want a Democrat involved. It'll make your state go down even worse. So you're going to have to get out and vote. Again, a lot of these decisions of voting for people you don't like, there's no choice anymore. You might have to vote for Ramaswamy. Hell, I would vote for him over a Democrat any day. Look at what I'm dealing with in Florida. I like Jake Collins, but I know he's not going to win. I mean, honestly, it's going to be Fishback and what do you call it? Byron Donalds going head to head in that primary. And most likely in primary, Donalds is going to win. I don't know how much. But there you go. That's it. That's the bottom line. And you know what? So when it comes to the primary time, I got option A, a Democrat Socialist of America who is scum, who's basically who is the antithesis of anything I believe in. And then I got Byron Donalds, who I might have to hold my nose up and say, okay, I'll choose him. And that's the point. That's the point. That's where we are. That's what I'm saying in Ohio. That's what I'm saying in a lot of states. All right. You know, you're only going to have a certain amount of viability and options. Okay. And you have to choose the lesser of evil. That's it. That's the only way to say we don't have a third party. As much as we all like a third party, you know, it's just not in the cards. It's not in the cards. Yeah, Tucker's leaving Republican Party. Do you really care? What are you going to do? Start your own party? Yeah, good luck with that. See how that works. The system's not sustained or maintained in that matter. It's a duopoly, and that duopoly has control. Has controls in the primary, has controls in the general. You know, the fact that Ross Perot in 92 got 19% in the general election, and that's before he dropped out or after he dropped out. I mean, think about it. He dropped out during that time. It was just not built for that type of scenario, ladies and gentlemen. We're just not. We're just not. And I don't know if we're ever going to have a serious contender as a third party. I mean, look what happened with third parties in the previous time. They played knockout games. I mean, look at what happened with Ross Perot. I mean, he went in there because he didn't want Bush to win. And so we got Clinton. Same person, another side of the coin. Yeah. And we had that shit for 8 years. Then you had George Bush and what's his name? Al Gore. That wasn't a choice either. You know? But we're stuck with these things, and that's what we're dealing with. All right, let me continue on. Got a couple more things, and then we'll dip out of here. All right. Yeah, let me get to some more good stuff here. Because some of the stuff was on Sunday that I was pulling together and stuff when I got back. So Meet the Press played an ad showing Chevalier's deleted tweets to Chris Murphy, the MTP. If you're saying that Democrat Party needs a bigger tent, does that include someone who called the former Democrat president a rapist? Murphy, I'm not super familiar with that. So here it is. After lecturing about how his party needs to embrace and respect the will of the voters with the DSA candidates, Chris suddenly pretends to have no idea that the candidates themselves, this is that Deliza candidate who won, who called Biden a rapist. Listen to this.
Well, let's talk about one of those candidates who won on Tuesday, who describes herself as a socialist, and that's Darlisa Avilia Chevalier. She's faced criticism now over deleted social media posts. I want you to take a listen to this attack ad from her former opponent.
Let's meet Darlisa in her own words.
Thank you. Everyone.
She won't stand by Kamala Harris.
Okay, let's get to business.
She won't stand by Joe Biden. She even called him a rapist. She won't stand by veterans or the American flag. She stands with dividing us by race. Meet the real Darlisa, the one she tried to delete.
So to be clear, Senator, that was an attack ad from a fellow Democrat. You've talked about this bigger tent. If you're saying the Democratic Party needs a bigger tent, does that include someone who called a former Democratic president of the United States a rapist?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not super familiar with that race. All I'm saying is that this party has to have a real contest of ideas.
A real contest of ideas. See, they don't even want to push back against these people. They're scared. They're scared. Because if they do, what's going to happen? In his district, I think Chris Murphy, was he from Connecticut? Someone will run against him. They're scared. They're all running scared. They're all playing patsy and footsie, trying to make nice here. And they don't want to admit that, look, we allowed these monsters, okay? And what's going to happen is they're not going to coalesce. They're going to absorb them and turn on them. That's what they're going to do. That's what communists do. I mean, look what happened to the guy that's running in the district in Nancy Pelosi's. What's his name? Scott Wiener, who helped advance legislation where you can have sex with a 14-year-old or a 12-year-old. And now the LGBTQ, the homosexuals, all these people are turning their back because of Gaza and the Jews. See, now the narrative is all flipped. They can't coalesce. They can't work in unison. And he's bitching and moaning that, oh, these people, I did a lot for them in some way. No, you only did stuff for you and the rest of the pedophiles out there. And now they're all turning on you because why? You're scum. You're scum. And that's the bottom line. Here we are. Let's put this up now. This was a good one. This is another example of what's going on. Yeah, totally corrupt. He'll be selected again. Connecticut Murphy and Rosa DeLauro will be selected again. Probably, most likely. You know, that's why they're not pushing back. Well, see what I'm saying, Casey Snowman? They're not pushing back against the subversives that are already inside the gate. They're inside the party, and they're moving forward. And the more and more of them coalesce, the more and more they push these people out. So, yeah, consider that. Here it is. Schumer. This was good from Donald Trump. Donald Trump. No
longer the overall electorate that doesn't like Chuck Schumer. Look at this change among Democrats themselves. Chuck Schumer's net favorable rating with Dems now versus the last time Democrats were going for that Senate majority. In early 2020, look at this. Chuck Schumer was 40 points above water, very much on the positive side of the ledger with Democrats. Look at this. Look at this change. This is not Johnny B off on the side going, my goodness gracious. Now he's a point underwater with Democrats. Chuck Schumer isn't unpopular overall. He is that. He's not just that. He's actually not popular with Democrats. Alyssa Slotkin, who's a moderate Democrat, her comments not coming out of left field.
Again, to be clear, this is among Democrats.
This is among Democrats.
Wow. That's crazy. You know, Trump always said that AOC is going to run for his seat. I mean, he's up in 2 years in 2028. So his time is up. There's no doubt about it. His time is up. The question is, who's going to run against him? Because most likely he's not going to run in 2028. He's not. And let's be clear about that. Darrell, I'll get to the can. Low-hanging fruit is not good enough. These people had help fleecing America. We need the higher-ups. Yeah, we do. We do. All right, let me get to a couple of other oddities here. Let's see. No, I don't want to cover that. I have some good news. I don't know you guys understand who Neville Royce Singham is. This is the guy that's funding all these leftist groups. Now, the President Trump DOJ, all right, opens a grand jury into the Marxist mogul funding the leftist group. So, the money was hidden in plain sight. Now, President Trump's Justice Department appears to be following it. A federal grand jury in Manhattan is investigating the alleged financial crimes connected to Royce Singham, a China-based tech tycoon whose fortune has bankrolled socialist, communist, and Marxist organizations across the United States. This is part of the establishment, wealthy figure tied to the Chinese Communist Party, allegedly routed enormous sums to American left-wing activists, infrastructure, and for a long time, almost nothing. That has changed. Fox News Digital reported June 29, 2026, that the probe was launched by Attorney General Jay Clayton in the Southern District of New York. So Jay Clayton remains at his position, okay? I remember, because he was the one that was going to be what? Nominated or put up for nomination for DNI. And remember, President Trump nixed that and said, no, let's go back. Go back to the District of New York area. And then acting Todd Blanche authorized the investigation, according to Fox. examining the movement of Singham's money network, where Singham, the fund and organizations of the leader, committed wire fraud, bank fraud, money laundering, and other financial crimes. Yeah, all that money that's coming in, you got to seize it. Seize it. That's our money now. Fox reported the evidence has already been presented to a grand jury and that subpoenas are seeking bank records, financial documents, and other organizations. Yeah, you shut off these banks from operating, of sending all this money around, traversing this money, all these different places and stuff. You shut that down, well, he's done. The question is, I mean, he's living in Shanghai, so how do you go after him? So he found that Singham allegedly pumped $285 million from Shanghai into Goldman Sachs philanthropy. Wow. Fund two shell corporations, which then moved money into nonprofits media operations. Nicole Baez, spokesman for the U.S. Attorney's Office, declined to comment. Wow. It moves through structures built to obscure where it came from and where it lands. The federal interests in this network did not appear overnight. The State Department was already naming names early on. Wow. Organizations like Code Pink, the People's Forum denigrate the United States, whitewash the violence of Marxist regimes, run cover for narco-terrorists like Maduro, and while enjoying an influx of cash. Yep. All right. Well, that's a good thing. So, I mean, they got to find a way to shut off all this money, all this stuff. And you start to see that a lot of these organizations and fronts are losing their opportunity and patience. What's up, Thea? Thank you for the 700 gold pills. Let's continue on. Look at this. This was an odd news story that I'm not trying to cover anything else, but really odd news today. Look at this. This comes from the BBC. So Ford rehires human engineers after AI fails to match quality checks. Let me just say that again. So they fired these human engineers for AI, but AI failed to match the quality checks. You notice how a lot of cars are being recalled? I've seen Jeep, Honda. I've seen a bunch of cars being recalled. We're talking in the millions for all these different things. See, this is the point that I'm saying. Everybody's so gung-ho, rolling to run with AI. But it says here that they hired back these because AI failed to match their skills and experience. I wonder why. In a bid to reap the benefits of tech, which developers claim can cut costs and boost productivity, the U.S. car maker adopted it across some parts of operations, including quality checks. Excuse me. But according to Bloomberg, its executive said the firm has rehired more than 300 veteran, 300 quality inspectors in recent years to make up for the pitfalls of automated systems. Artificial intelligence is a fantastic tool, but it's only good as the information you can use to train it, Charles Poon said. Wow. Over prior years, we didn't pay as much attention as we should have with the experience of most knowledgeable engineers and that we've been with through many production cycles. Well, there you go. See, you do need humans after all. We're not replaceable. That's the bottom line. Machines can only do so much, especially if the machines are not what? Calibrated to these types of jobs. We're still in that scenario where they're not fully, let's just say, autonomous, running perfectly in such a way, be able to pick up on the discrepancies on a manufacturing line. But yet the human eye, the human gut instinct, the human what? Thought patterns. That's a good sign. It's laughable. It's laughable for Ford, but it's showing you in some way, fake manufacturing, but it's showing you in some way that, look, there's a necessity out there. So I think there's a pushback for a lot of people with all this stuff with AI. I'm for progress, but let's face it, I'm not for just like being replaced or any of these other things that are out there. And I know, Trump one, you're holding your nose. You're going to have to hold your nose. He probably smells anyway, but the bottom line is he's the right pick for governor. I mean, is he going to be worse than DeWine? I mean, DeWine is pretty bad. I mean, honestly. So we'll see. We'll see in some way. All right, moving on. Let me get to a couple of other things. Like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a gold pill. Comments, questions, or concerns. No, dog, can we get 2 years for the 2020 election? I say it all the time. I say it in all the amendments. If you look on the 22nd Amendment, I believe it's the 22nd Amendment, and it doesn't say, it says 10 years. It doesn't say that it's consecutive. You know, I wonder if that was done for that reason. He's going to get an additional 2 years. It's possible. Will he do it? Will he take it? I don't know. That's the thing. Will he do it? If it's afforded to him, if it's proven, because, that's the whole point. How is this going to be relegated at? We had someone call in on Friday, allies, and say, what happened to the Lloyd Brunson case? That's like still hovering around the conference? When is that case going to be done? Has that already been done too? I don't know. I mean, a lot of good questions. I don't have those answers. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Here's a particular thing that I saw that was floating all over the media this morning. Floating around a lot of conservative or wannabe conservative platforms. The Republican Party is starting to turn on Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu lost Democrats. Now a growing number of Republicans are souring on him and his country. Why it matters, more Republicans, especially younger ones, turned on Israel as its military leveled Gaza. And then Netanyahu alienated President Trump and his team as they sought to end the war. For 15 years, Netanyahu offset collapsing Democratic support by cultivating Republicans. If Republican support is no longer guaranteed, he has a serious problem. Well, you saw Rotten Box Clinton come out and some of her critiques about Bibi and that, and certain purveyors, provocateurs inside the Israeli government. That problem starts at the highest level of the Republican Party. In September of last year, as President Trump was pressing Bibi to accept the Gaza peace deal, he told the Israeli prime minister that all Jews are sick of you, and there would be a divorce between two countries if he refused to go along, according to Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan's new book, which President Trump chided, by the way, destroyed it. I mean, he called her maggot Haberman. It was funny. Axios reported that Trump called Netanyahu fucking crazy and warned that his actions risk further isolating Israel and the world. Trump later told Axios in an interview that his relationship with Netanyahu is good, but we have to keep him a little bit sane. See, that's frightening. I mean, the fact that the president of the United States says that about someone like Bibi Netanyahu, I mean, you wonder why people have this visceral reaction to Israel, okay? To the Jewish state, yeah. Trump's possible heir apparent, J.D. Vance, rebuked Israeli officials opposing the Iran deal, yeah. And a lot of people that like him and support him, like Tucker Carlson, like Alex Jones, like many other people that are surrounding themselves with Vance because of the fact is they want that situational gap even further away in regarding with Israel. That's number one. And as he says, we need to relinquish the control of AIPAC with our what? Congressional delegates and senatorial delegates. Their influence over them is what has got us in this mess for decades. And we seem never to, let's just say, move out of it. It's a fair critique, and I am not shitting on that at all. Yeah, it's absolutely true. And more people are seeing it. That's the bottom line. If I was the cabinet of Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. Yeah. Maybe not like attack the United States or, because that's the problem. You think you're chosen people, God's people, and then that attitude, that arrogance, that hubris, because you plan on, hey, look, if they walk away from us, we'll just do the Samson option. We'll kill our allies and our enemies simultaneously. The strains over the war come as a prolific America First anti-interventionist led by Carlson, Kelly, Marjorie Taylor Greene stoked the backlash against Israel. Carlson, who left the Republican Party last week, said Netanyahu manipulated Trump into joining the war. He called the president a slave to the Israeli prime minister. Ben Shapiro, the Daily Wire co-founder, staunch Israel defender, is seeing his ratings fall, and that's why he's trying to sell and try to get an IPO for the Daily Wire, getting all these people to buy into it to go public. As the right-wing listeners oppose the support of Israeli turn elsewhere. Between the lines, Israel has become a new litmus test in the online rights war against the GOP establishment. Fuentes and his Groyper Flowers have spent years attacking mainstream conservatives for being too loyal to Israel, promoting anti-Semitic messages that once lived on the fridge, but now echo through young conservative spaces. I'll leave it there. I think that's the point. There is a growing discontent, and it's all over. You're seeing more and more outlets cover this, more and more people talk about this openly. They're not hiding anymore from the critique. They're basically just pointing out that I think the time has come. People have just had enough. And this war, whatever you want to say about this war in some way, whether it had to be done, whether we were forced to be involved in some way, it's still President Trump. He's Teflon Don, so it's not really going to affect him. But we could all see when we take a step back on how we view Israel, and there's their allotment to this, and let's just say their attitude towards us, the attitude towards the Lebanese, the attitude towards how they felt about carpet bombing and nuking Gaza. At this point and stuff, people just had their fill and they're done. They want to stay far away from them completely. Yeah, and I think that's the bottom line, and that's why that visceral reaction is continuing on. People are just done with it. They're just sick of it. Just let's fix this war. Let's get a deal done in Doha. Let's do this. If they start acting out of line, yeah, we got to keep on bombing them and stuff like that. It's no sweat off our ass. I don't even care anymore. Honestly, sign the deal, and if they crawfish this deal, there you go. Taking the next step further, and then the next step further. That's what you got to continue to do. Where you cut them off completely. That's it. They're actually they're driving themselves to their own extinction. And if they don't realize it now, and a lot of that stuff I think is choreographed too. I do. I'm not necessarily believing a lot of this stuff isn't choreographed in such a manner that a lot of times that that we respond or retaliate against an incursion or something they've done. I wonder if that facet is really real. I mean, we hit installations and facilities that may or may not be open, may or not be, maybe nothing's there and it just looks good on paper. I don't know. Or maybe we do hit stuff and we don't know what they are. You never hear anything about it. So, all right. Did anybody hear about this? So Trump goes on his restoration tour. I mean, he's all over with the restoration of DC, which is fantastic. No other president has done this. He says the East Potomac Golf Course will begin work on September 1st. Wow. President Trump announced this Sunday that he will work to begin September 1st on the East Potomac Golf Course. Even his administration's plans to renovate federally owned public course are being challenged in court. Wow. Can you believe that? The golf course is among a series of federally owned sites, landmarks, and public spaces Trump has sought to alter, reshape, or rename since he returned to the White House, and moves to have drawn legal challenges from preservationists and critics. What, they want to make it a shithole? I mean, what is it so you don't want to advance this agenda? Trump, a frequent golfer and owner of golf course, visited the course Sunday as he toured various statues, monuments, and other federally owned land with golf architect Tom Fazio, Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, and others. Following the visit, he announced the date for the construction to begin on his true social media. But look, I mean, if they can restore it, I mean, think about how that plus will be with all the beautification, the edification that they're going to do on the property to attract people to want to play golf there. I mean, they won't have to travel far. They won't have to go to Virginia or Maryland. I mean, I don't understand, why is this a problem? It's because Democrats or anything President Trump does, they just got to stop it. That's the bottom line. That's what they're told. That's what the message is, and that's what we see. It was built through the Department of Interior and designed to the highest standards of golf, but also in such a way that the general public will love it. Okay, so that's going to be open to the general public. I think that's great. Why not? Open to the general public. You pay your fee, for your time. That's good. That brings money into the Department of Interior. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, what is this problem? Thank you, Aloha Mom. Gifted a cookie for sausage launcher. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Thea, for the 500 gold pills. Tucker said the other day he's been wrong many times, but he's entitled to his own opinions. Yeah, he's a big boy. I mean, look, whether or not, because I never heard him say, because there's a whole controversy about him with saying, people accusing him saying that he said that Israel killed Charlie Kirk, and he didn't say that, okay? In his defense, he did not say that, okay? All right, he just said there may be other components involved here that we're not looking at, then maybe from that in per se. I don't know if Israel did it or not. I don't know if they're involved or not anyway. I don't know. There's no evidence. We have no evidence. Why? Because the case ended. The FBI decided, they said there's an ongoing investigation. Well, if there's an ongoing investigation, all right, well, and you got a guy that he's going to get the death penalty. Why? Because there are other people involved? Who fronted this? Was there any money transacted off this? Was there any betting going on there? Who else was involved? Are we ever going to know anything about it? I have no idea. All I know is that case stinks to high heaven. And you know what? What's going to be sad? If Tyler Robinson walks, okay, the FBI is going to get a lot of blowback, and the state, and the state of Utah, the staties, them in general, the Utah police handling the case. I mean, the chief of police resigning. I mean, the testimonies, all the stuff. If they can't convict this guy, and they think, and that's a hung jury, or if it's a hung jury or a mistrial, man, wow. And then what happens? They don't want to retry it. It just goes away. Then what happens with the investigation? I don't know. Okay. A couple more things and then we're out of here. This was funny. Now, they had, I guess over the weekend, I didn't want to cover it because it's too disgusting. I saw so much disturbing images of naked men on bikes and their shit junk hanging out, all this stuff all over the place for the pride, the queer, LGBTQ. It's disgusting. In front of kids and everything. These people are sick. They're pedophiles. I'm sick of them. I'm just sick of all these people. You know, I know there's gay people that don't want to be a part of this group, this contingent, but overall, it's just gross. LGBTQ needs to be defraud. It does. It needs to be broken up. This is an enterprise. I don't know how many letters and alphabet numbers they have, but they're pedophiles. They're protectors of pedophiles. I'm disgusted with this group. This organization needs to be shut down. It needs to be shut down. And you know what? And then you got this. You got a bunch of gay men on bikes. Los Angeles man arrested for shooting naked people with a BB gun as they rode their bikes through downtown Los Angeles. Hundreds of people spotted riding without clothes. Yeah, class act people. LAPD says the man dressed in black riding a scooter started shooting the cyclist with a BB gun. The people were hit, treated for lacerations. The man was taken into custody. Okay.
Charges after allegedly shooting two people with a BB gun at a naked bike riding event in downtown LA. This happened around 11 this morning near the intersection of Temple Street and North Alameda Street. Police say a male suspect dressed in all black and riding a scooter fired the BB gun at the nude cyclist. Two victims were treated for lacerations at the scene. The suspect will be charged with assault of a deadly weapon, and more charges are pending.
It's a BB gun. It's a fucking BB gun. Please spare me. What if he had a water gun? Come on. Oh my God. Anyway, whatever. I mean, honestly, they got to protect the gay people on the bikes. They got all these people. They got to protect them. They're special people. They're very prideful people because they've come out. They're allowed to ride around naked and show their junk around, flashing it in front of kids. But I guess there's no laws. There's no laws on the books for doing that. You wonder why people are shooting BB guns? You're lucky people aren't shooting real guns. But the hunt's on. I told you, vigilante justice is all over the place. It's not just for the third worlders, legal scum, the black culture that we have that's running rampant and violent in our country, the pedophiles, the perverts, the pieces of shit, the trash that represent the LGBTQ pedophile group. Yeah. I mean, people just had enough with this stuff. They've just had enough. They're just done. They're like, this is not a country we should grow into with them towing the line on our coattails. No, they are not representative of this country. Okay, what they're doing is forming a coalition of what? Perverts to make sure they come for our children in every facet. And they've done a wonderful job doing that with the transmutilation and everything that's out there, playing Dr. Frankenstein and everything they've done. They continue on this and it never goes away until you finally break them. You break them financially, you put them in jail, or you put them under. That's it. That's how you get rid of them. That's it. That's what you do. Yeah, same thing in Tampa. Alphabet Omega pill. Absolutely. You know that. Yes, LA has a citizen vigilante. It's funny. Thank you, Thea, for the can. That's what I know. Wait, listen to this story. I got one more. Listen to this. There's a guy in Mexico. This is funny as shit. He's a masked Batman. He's hunting down, this is NDTV World. Masked Batman hunts down thieves in Mexico and tapes them to poles. Police launch the bizarre string of events, which began on June 13th in the municipality of Lagos de Moreno, has left authorities investigating 5 cases over a span of 10 days. What the fuck? A mysterious vigilante known as online the Mexican Batman. This is great. Or the Batman of Lagos de Moreno has become the subject of a police manhunt in Jalisco, Mexico, after allegedly hunting down suspected motorcycle thieves, beating them and duct taping them to the street lamppost. This bizarre string of incidents, which began on June 13th in the municipality of Lagos de Moreno, has left authorities investigating at least 5 cases over a span of 10 days. Each time, the suspected thieves were found bound to the poles with heavy-duty duct tape, while motorcycles believed to have been stolen were parked beside them. All right, look, vigilante justice. This is what I'm talking about. This is another form of it. No, he's not killing these people. He's taping them up, leaving them up for the cops to come. I mean, Batman was a vigilante. You know, I mean, honestly, you're seeing more and more people. People are tired of this shit. People are just tired. I think it's great. I think that's fantastic. I thought that was an odd thing. The Mexican Batman. I mean, which Mexican Batman? I mean, come on. You got to say that's kind of funny. I mean, right? I mean, what's your thoughts about that? Tell me, what's your thoughts? I want to hear what your thoughts are about that, because that's just great. All right. All right. Yep. And the final crazy batshit thing of the day, again, part of this disgusting group of people, the crazies with mental disease. She was born a female, then transitioned to male. That still wasn't enough. Now she wears a dog collar and a muzzle. Now you tell me this isn't mental illness that requires full treatment. It's gross.
You were born as
a female.
And now you're a man.
Yes.
Did you get changed into this?
Yes.
Okay, explain this for me, because I don't think a lot of people will understand.
I don't know. I just like to feel comfortable in my skin, so I just wear whatever I want. Okay. And especially during big events, I like to just dress how I feel.
Okay.
And so this was just for fun.
Okay.
I love collars, so I wear those. Okay. But everything else is just kind of pride, whatever I feel comfortable in.
You were born as
That's the whole point. Those groups promote this stuff. They do. And they push this narrative all the time for people in some way. Oh, yeah, dress up like that. It's okay. It's not okay. You're creating what? A sickness. You're creating people to be what? Something that they're not. You're giving these people false hope. You're instilling them that what you're doing is normal. There's no normality about that. You're incentivizing an ugliness while you mock them summarily. And you continue on allowing them to, whoever funds this shit all the time, but we all know who funds this crap. I mean, it's just gross. It's sickening. Thank you, Sean Doe, for the cookie. Aloha, Mom, with the 900 gold pills, emptying out my pill stash. Got to get more. Thank you so much for supporting the platform. All right, and the last thing here, again, this is the reason why vigilante citizen is popular, and it's gaining more and more. I know England, UK, and Germany, you probably see more, but it's too late. It's already out. It's on X. So you'll see more and more countries in Europe ban this, because bottom line, I wouldn't be surprised Italy does, because Italian locals pummel an African menace after he begins masturbating in front of young children. Yep. See what I'm saying? And families at a beach in Genoa. A video showing an African migrant exposing himself and young children on a beach in Italy going viral, bringing a spotlight on the horrors of mass migration in Europe. Horrifying footage show an African standing in front of families and young children while pleasuring himself on the beach. Let's see if I can open this up. No, I'm not gonna show it. Not gonna show it. I'll be banned for showing that. I'm not. No. So this is what mass migration and amnesty advocates want to bring to the beach near you. Anti-immigration activist Tommy Robinson shared the clip on writing. So I'm saying you're starting to see all these videos in the last couple of days of these people acting out Anti-mass migration. Tommy Robinson shared the clip of the next new normal scenes at the beach in modern Europe. I don't know if I should play it. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to see someone fucking jerking off. I don't want to see it. Another widely circulating video through the unconfirmed appears to show the man facing the wrath of locals who pummeled him in the obscene display. One woman can be seen actually stepping in to defend him. Yeah, I think there was. Let me see if I can. Let's see. Oh. Beat his ass. We got a woman defending it, obviously. That woman will be raped the next day. You got some woman idiot defending him. These people know how to punch. Look at this. Embarrassing. It's sad. According to the video, Genoa-based Italian newspaper.
After nearly 10 hours, the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation.
Going on here, it says that villain playing out on the shore in the background, a man at the center of the scene. The video published by an Hispanic online portal, OK Dario, garnered nearly 40 million views on TikTok alone in just a dozen hours, quickly going viral. Someone called the police, and when they arrived, the man was identified and reported for the incident, exposed in public. His legal name, an immigrant in Italy. The beach was shocked, especially by the man's extreme naturalness. He didn't even seem particularly upset by the fact that at the end of the video, people were seen filming him and removing him from the beach. Wow. I mean, and it's all over the place. I mean, it's disgusting behavior. And they, you know what? They do this because they know they can. They act this way because they know they can, because they can get away with it. And they think, oh, that's okay. I could be a pervert. I could be a monster. No one's going to arrest me. No one's going to do anything to me. That's why you need a vigilante citizen. That's what you do. And you take these fools out one by one. Yeah. That's what's going to happen. I felt like this for a long time where I knew this was coming. And, you know, people can only take so much. They've only had so much where they rise up and they say, hey, look, fuck this. I'm done with these people. And they start hunting. That's what's happening. That's what's going to continue happening. What's happening in North Belfast, what's happening in the UK, in many sectors over there. You're going to start to see many different areas of different countries that are rising up against the anti-migration people. Yeah. People just had it. They just don't want to deal with this anymore. Let me release the pills out there. What's your final thoughts? Any comments, questions that you have? Let me get out of this. I'll release the pills and stuff. Yeah. So what's your thoughts about what's happening? Do you think in some way, let me know in the chat. Do you believe in some way that we're going to that level, that the 14th Amendment, you think that they're going to vote against it? You think the Supreme Court is going to in some way shoot this down? Do you think so? Do you think they're going to shoot this down in any way? Let me know in the chat. Let me hear what you have to say. Just say yes or no. And then let me know the decisions. Is it going to be 5-4, 6-3 in favor or against? Let me know. I'm releasing the pills here. I'm just curious though, because I'm going to go online tomorrow. I'm going online tomorrow one way or another to cover this. I'm not, because this is big news. So hopefully the pills were released. It's just, I don't know why it's doing this, but let's see. Okay. The pills should be released. So, okay, good. Yep. So that's it. I probably will return tomorrow. I have to because I didn't do a show on Sunday. So I'm going to do that. Help me chase won 6 gold pills and never saw that name before. Trump won. No. Darlell, you guys are just killing it. You're killing it. Wire dog. You know, it's so weird. When you release all these pills, you see all these names here, and I'm like, are these people just, where are these people? I never see them in the chat. It's so weird. I don't know. It's an odd thing. I just noticed that the other day. Like, I had a show on Friday, and I just saw all these names that I'm like, just came out of the blue, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. All right, well, that's our show for tonight. I shall return tomorrow, and we'll cover the birthright citizenship and many other crazy things. no birthright citizenship, but holding my breath. Okay. You're holding your breath. So you don't think, so you think the Supreme Court is going to rule against it? Is that what you're saying, Curious Cat? See, I'm the optimist. I believe that, I believe in some way the Supreme Court will rule in favor. I think they will. 5-4. It'll be a very, very, very tight discussion. Yeah, I freaking miss them. Yeah, we'll see. We shall see. But that's our show for tonight. I want to thank everybody out there for supporting the platform, for donating and supporting Leah 1.6, Aloha Mom with 1, and Wood USA with 928. Yeah, thanks again. Thank you, Trusty Turner. Thank you all out there. Again, tomorrow I shall return. Thank you all for being here. And the open lines will continue. I still want you guys to call in. Okay, I try to get more and more people to call in. And, you know, we get some people, they send messages. I can't call in. I can't call in. I'm like, all right. All right. Have a good night. Be well, be safe, be smart. Watch your 6 out there. It's getting ugly. Ciao.